The Holy See and the People's Republic of China have signed an agreement on the appointment of bishops. They signed it on Saturday, September 22nd in Beijing. In a statement, Holy See Secretary of State Cardinal Parolin said that the objective of the Holy See is a pastoral one, to create the conditions for greater freedom, autonomy, and organization for the mission of announcing the gospel.
And today, for the first time, all the bishops in China are in communion with the Bishop of Rome, with the successor of Peter.
The September 22nd agreement put an end to excommunications that started back in 1958 when the Chinese Patriotic Catholic Association, a year after its foundation, started to consecrate bishops without the approval of the Holy Father. In an interview last year, His Eminence Cardinal Joseph Zen, Emeritus Bishop of Hong Kong, shared his concerns about the upcoming agreement with EWTN.
I really don't understand what they are expecting from a bad agreement, because maybe you avoid illegitimate ordination of bishops, but then you agree to have bad bishops. And I really take again this opportunity to invite everybody to be rational, to be calm, and we never criticize the Pope. But I hope the people around the Pope, they stop giving him bad advice, because the Pope really needs to know the reality, and the reality is that there is no freedom. The reality is that we cannot see any goodwill on the part of the Beijing government. They are still controlling the church, and they want to control it even more.
But the Vatican is promoting support for the agreement.
What is required now is unity, is trust, is required a new impetus to have good pastors recognized by the successor of Peter, by the Pope, and by the legitimate civil authorities. And we believe and we hope that the agreement will be an instrument just for these objectives, for these aims, with the collaboration of all.
Coming back from his trip to the Baltic countries, a day after the agreement was signed, Pope Francis commented on the document during the in-flight press conference.
L'accordo l'ho firmato io.
I signed the agreement.
Almeno le lettere.
I signed the plenipotentiary letters. I am the person in charge. The others have been working for more than 10 years. It's not an improvisation. It's a real journey.
È un dialogo.
There is a dialogue on possible candidates, but nominated by Rome, nominated by the Pope. That's clear. And we pray for the suffering of some who don't understand or who have many years of clandestinity behind them.
Di clandestinità.
In recent years, the number of Christians in China has noticeably increased despite restrictions on church activity and attempts to control it by the Chinese government. To understand the nature of the Catholic Church in China better and how this agreement can change life for Catholics there, we caught up with Father Bernardo Cervellera, head of the Asia News Agency that monitors the life of Christians in Africa, Asia, and especially in China. Father Cervellera, thank you so much for joining us. Have you seen this accord?
No, I have not seen it. I think nobody will see it because the Vatican and the foreign ministry, the Chinese foreign ministry, they said that they will not publish the agreement.
Why do you think that's so?
That is, from a positive point of view, I think that because it is a provisional agreement, perhaps they want to find, first of all, to verify it, and then they want to arrive to a more stabilized agreement before producing it. Perhaps from a more suspecting vision, perhaps they fear the critics of Chinese leadership and of Christians among the Catholics.
The whole deal focuses on bishops and nominations, and going forward, Beijing will nominate and the Pope will have veto powers. How is that going to work in practice? What are your expectations?
Up to now, Beijing wanted to decide independent nomination and independent ordinations. Now it seems that the Pope will have the power to say no. Only I will choose dignified candidates, but we don't know if Beijing will accept the word of the Pope or they will continue to present the same candidate or same not very dignified candidates. In this case, the agreement perhaps can fall.
That's what people are worried about, isn't
Yeah.
it? We don't know what, or perhaps they could then take it out on the underground Catholics. There could be repercussions for those who are still faithful to Rome.
This is another problem. But, the agreement only talks about the nomination of the bishops, means of the official bishops, but doesn't say anything about the underground bishops, if they will be recognized by the government or if they can work freely without belonging to the Patriotic Association.
There are so many questions. You have your finger on the pulse of the underground church in China. What have they been saying to you since the news came out just a couple of days ago of this accord with the Vatican?
But we have received some comments from underground and official Catholics. Let us say that they are, on one hand, they are optimistic because they say that at least there is one small step for the dialogue between China and the Vatican. So something could happen in the future and could be perfectionated in the future. On the other hand, people say, but we fear the government because we don't trust it. We don't trust the government because they persecute Christians, they close churches, they don't give the permission to youth to go to the religious functions and to receive religious educations. And so they fear that in the future nothing will happen, or means much more that the persecution will increase.
And we can't know that until we look a few months down the line and we see what the repercussions have been. Let's talk about the timing. It's been years that we have been reporting on the fact that Beijing and the Holy See are on the verge of coming to an agreement. Now they have signed it. It's a temporary one, but they've signed something. How important is the timing? Why now? Why now? Why September 2018?
I think that it is because in the Chinese government and in the Catholic Church in the world and in China, there are many enemies of this agreement. Means that in China, above all, one part of the leadership, that one linked to the United Front, to the Patriotic Association, to the administration for the religious affairs, they don't want any agreement. And they are increasing the persecution of Christians, of Muslims, of Buddhists in this period, just to put things difficult for the Vatican to accept. So I think this is the main reason why they have done a provisional agreement in this period, because the foreign ministry and the Vatican, they fear that in the future perhaps it could be more and more difficult to sign it.
Last question, Taiwan. What happens now regarding relations between the Vatican and Taiwan?
Let us say that one positive aspect of this provisional agreement is that it is a pastoral agreement and not a political one. This means that there is no discussion about the relationship between the Vatican and Taiwan. Of course, I think that the foreign ministry has the plan in the future to try to leave the support of the Vatican to Taiwan as a diplomatic relationship. But for the time being, the relationship with Taiwan are maintained. And this is very interesting because this is, we can say, a kind of victory of the Vatican. Because up to a few months ago, still the United Front, the Patriotic Association, and so on, they were saying that if the Vatican want to dialogue with China, they have to cut diplomatic relationship with the Vatican, with Taiwan. And so instead they have started the dialogue. They have signed a small provisional agreement, but anyway they've signed it without cutting the relationship with Taiwan.
Thank you so very much, Father Cervellera. Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
to
you
you
for joining us.
Bye.